Hello and welcome to the Wooden Ball Show. I'm your host, Dave Ball, also known as Blinson on Reddit and at Blinson1 on Twitter. And I'm not join Blake isn't able to join us today, so I will be covering both interviews. The two teams we're going to be interviewing are the Boston Bruins and the Anaheim Ducks. And from the and to talk about that with us, we are joined by Luke and Chris here. You can follow Luke on Reddit at user Yogi the Duck or on Twitter at Yogi Stogie. And you can follow Chris on Twitter and Reddit at Crazy Knucklehead. Yeah, how you all doing?
Pretty good.
Oh, I'm good.
Thanks for joining us today, guys.
No problem.
My pleasure.
Okay, without further ado, I guess we'll just head right into it. So, the first team we're going to cover today is going to be the Anaheim Ducks. So, without further ado, I guess we'll just get started in. So, one of the first topics we always talk about is this past season, how everything went. So, why don't you just kind of give an overview of how your season went and how your postseason went?
All right. Well, like I was introduced, I'm Yogi. It's at Reddit user Yogi underscore the underscore duck.
Mm-hmm.
Just to
Clarify
clarify, in case you get lost there. Well, I think like many fans, I always tend to have that, this is our year feeling when I go into a new season.
Mm-hmm.
But after a miserable season opening loss to the Colorado Avalanche and their newly appointed demo man at Denver, Patrick Waugh, I had a little bit of doubt. Um, and then we had a quick pair of wins against Minnesota and Winnipeg, and then we came home and had this great 6-0 shutout win against the Rangers, who, looking back, had a really, really bad opening stretch. So it wasn't really that big of a win, but it felt good because I was at that game and it was this, after falling short to Detroit the season previous, how are we going to bounce back? And it was really nice to come back and have that good win. And we had just got Jakob Silverberg, and he had 2 goals that game. And then Dustin Penner came back, and he had a goal that game. And I wasn't really the biggest Jonas Hiller fan, and he had a shutout. I felt that we had a great regular season. Our road record was over 500, and we set a bunch of franchise records during this season. We had a game with 9 goals. It was the most we'd had against Vancouver.
Wow.
We had the most points in a regular season with 112. We had our most wins with 50, and we took home the Pacific Division Championship banner, or whatever you want to call it, in what I feel is the most stacked division in the league.
You do have a very tough division.
So in my opinion, I think we had one of the better regular seasons compared to any other team. I think we did fantastic. But when it comes to postseason, I feel like we don't always have that do or die attitude that I see a lot of nights. It's that every pass is crisp, or every shot is a clean one, and every check is heavy, and every save, gets better and better. And then there's nights where we backtrack like Ovechkin, guys miss hits, and Jonas Hiller forgets to take his vertigo medicine, and we end up losing terribly. And in my opinion, the latter happened in the playoffs. If you watch that first game against Dallas again, we were killing them. We were on top of our game, crisp passes, great shots, great goals. And then we do this little, turtle in a shell game and try to play survival. And you can't do that against guys like Tyler Seguin and the relevant Ben brother and think you're going to win. I think we got out of the Dallas series relatively lucky, other than the fact that we lost Stefan Robidas, which was a huge blow to our blue line. And we went into the LA series with not enough fire to combat their momentum and their aggressive style. Um, as soon as we started getting shut down, we blew it. We
Hmm.
we didn't bounce back very well. Um, Game 7 was really where I look at, you know, when people talk about Boudreau's style of coaching and whether or not he is fit um, to coach a Stanley Cup team. You know, how do you lose that badly in a Game 7 when the whole series was so tight?
Hmm.
Um, but that's beside the fact. I guess congrats to the Kings fans and the Kings in general because they deserved it. Um, but our season was a bit of a letdown for me as a whole. Um, so yeah.
Okay, so now let's kind of overview about your season and your postseason. So kind of getting in depth for on your team. The first thing we want to talk about is the forwards and how they did this season. So give us a little overview of how your forwards did this season. Kind of give them how you feel like a grade on how they did.
Forwards, in my opinion, were outstanding. Um, Ryan Getzlaf, I had this prediction going into the home stretch there that Ryan Getzlaf would break his career high of 91 points. He didn't get to that point. He got 87 points, which is still pretty incredible in my opinion. Um, Corey Perry is always a great player, but he kind of disappointed me in the offseason. Um, he wasn't as relevant as I would have liked him to have been, just as he wasn't in 2012, 2013 against Detroit. But he had a team high of a plus 32, and he had 43 goals. So, you know, I'm gonna give him a B plus, only because I'm a little disappointed in his playoff run. But Nick Bonino, Andrew Cogliano, Kyle Palmieri, all really impressed me the whole season as well as postseason. Um, you know, Cogliano in particular is one of those guys that you know. What's his Iron Man streak at? It's over. I think it's. I don't
Looking
want to
right
sound
here.
stupid here, but I'm pretty sure it's over. It's over like 700 games.
Okay, I'll look that up
Um,
as you talk.
uh, um, he's not the biggest guy, but he's one of the fastest guys who can take a hit, uh, and get up and keep skating. Nick Bonino is just clutch. Uh, Enough said. Kyle Palmieri is kind of a mix between the two. He's a fast, uh, clutch kid who is just he can take a hit and keep going, and he seems like he's always in the play. Um, but a notable player for me this season was Patrick Maroon. Big guy, St. Louis guy. Um, finally getting his NHL come up, and he's you know, just a hard hitting guy who I like to watch play. Um, the forwards this year, in my opinion, get an A minus um, as a whole.
Okay. And Cogliano's Iron Man strike is about, I think, 580, I think I calculated, or something like that.
500.
Yeah,
Okay.
he back in 2007 is when he first started, and he had played 82 games there. He has never missed a game in any of his seasons in the NHL, it seems. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's and he's had a bunch of his teeth knocked out, and I don't remember what he was playing with. I think he tore something in his leg, um, last not this past season, but the 2012-13 season. I believe that he tore something in his leg and played through the playoffs anyway, even though it was only one round. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, go ahead. What were you saying? Nothing.
Oh no, it was
Okay.
if you wanted to move on to defense.
Yeah, we're gonna be moving on to the defensemen now. So kind of the same thing. Talk about them. Give them a grade.
Defense. Not too satisfied with this year. A lot of it comes from the fact that I don't feel, excuse me, that we have what I like to call a solid veteran defenseman. We have Brian Allen, who is technically a veteran defenseman, um, and Francois Beauchemin as well. But numerous times throughout the season, I would watch the both of them um, get caught out of position, flat-footed, um, just ill-prepared for a situation. Whereas, a guy who I consider a solid veteran defenseman is a guy who was, our Chris Pronger in 2007 or Scott Niedermayer in 2007. Just guys who are workhorses, leaders, and get the job done. But I was very pleased with Hampus Lindholm and Sammy Vatanen, as well as Cam Fowler, who are all seeming to come up into their own. Who have they combined for a total of 87 points this season and a sum of a plus 53. Um, like I said, Brian Allen 0 goals, 10 assists, and a plus 20 that really doesn't show exactly what I mean. But if any of you guys watch Ducks games this season, try to pick out number 55 when he's on the ice. You might see him fan on a pass or a turnover for a breakaway, or have a poor excuse for a fight. And one of the notable gaffes that I have watched him do a few times is he tries to dump in as he crosses the red line and dumps over the glass in the offensive zone. And I don't see a guy like that being a staple for a young blue line and somebody for them to look up to, and somebody who's going to help them mature and grow. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on. Ben Lovejoy, though, is my notable defenseman. He's got 5 goals, 13 assists, a plus 21. He's a hard-hitting, no shit taking, all-around good guy on and off the ice. So in my opinion, defense gets a B.
Okay. I know for Ben Lovejoy, not many people in Pittsburgh liked him, so I guess he has changed his ways since he came to Anaheim.
Oh yeah. I didn't pay attention to him much in Pittsburgh, so I can't be the one to tell the Penguins fans, what's what. But in my opinion, a guy like Ben Lovejoy, on our team with the I guess lack of uh, great blue line, I was pleased with his performance this past year.
Okay. I know when he was in Pittsburgh, I personally loved him there because he used to give the puck up a lot to us. So that's kind of, I guess, why.
I was gonna say because you're a Flyers fan.
Pittsburgh people probably did not like him because he definitely was not as strong with the puck at that time. But I guess he's gotten better for you guys, which I'm happy for. So now heading into the next topic, which is your goalies. So kind of give a talk about. I think you had 3 goalies kind of this year, or 4 maybe.
Well, technically we had 4.
Yeah.
Victor Faust was traded relatively early in the season. We did have Jonas Hiller in a place called Vertigo. I'm sorry. Where was I? Frederick Anderson, as well as John Gibson, and I I was really scared this past season, knowing that the time was running out for us to get something useful for Hiller with his contract expiring at the end of this past season.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? He played just like most people play in a contract year, out of their ass. Um, right up until it mattered in the home stretch after the Olympic break.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Frederick Anderson played great. He had 20 wins and 5 losses with a 2.29 goals against average and a 9.23 save percent. And he really solidified his earning of a number one role with Hiller being lost to free agency. And instead of needing to have Bob Murray go look for a Ryan Miller or trying to grab Yara Halak. John Gibson made a big statement coming out and getting a shutout in his first NHL game, as well as having a great season in Norfolk, which I believe he was the AHL Player of the Month or something in November. The kid is good. He won the World Juniors with the U.S. and he's gonna be something in a few years. He's the new breed in my opinion. But the goaltending in the playoffs is where it really mattered and where it really didn't do enough. Anderson gets hurt. Jonas Hiller is shaken because he's not trusted in net and psychs himself out and loses, and then you got a new guy, Gibson, who, he was 20.
Mm-hmm.
He barely had any NHL experience, and you're putting him in the playoffs against across, not town, but up the 5 freeway rival, and a huge opponent in the LA Kings, and he loses a close 2-1 game, and ends up not being able to perform. But it's not on him that he has this skill and he just couldn't do it. It's a lack of experience and just youth and not being able to apply things that a veteran goaltender with enough NHL time and playoff experience could have applied.
Mm-hmm.
So, my opinion, goaltending gets a B+, only because Anderson and Gibson were there, and that's 2-1. And Hiller, I'm so glad he's not on our team. I'm so happy. I'm sorry. Were we gonna move on?
I mean, you keep going on about Hiller if you want. I'm not going to stop you.
Hiller needs cyclazine.
So I guess we will move on. So tell us about
Vertigo. What?
So Bruce Boudreau is your coach, and so kind of give us an overview of how you think he did this season, this off season. I mean, this season, this postseason, and kind of give him a grade also.
There's a comedian named Joe Bartnick, who actually has a hockey podcast, and he actually likes to call Boudreau Barbecue Bruce, and I really enjoy that name. So that's what I'm going to call him. I think not goaltending. Jesus, I'm already on this Hiller thing again. Coaching is difficult for me to judge. Solely because I don't play for the Ducks and I'm not in the locker room. There's a lot of things that is it the coach's my computer's going to sleep. Is it the coach's fault? Is he trying to run a style of offense that simply doesn't work? or is it that the players just can't adapt to it, or that they don't perform well in that system? Um, it's hard for me to judge unless it's like Randy Carlyle in the Ducks in 2011, where it really just seemed like they tanked on purpose to get him out. Because they turned around and had the best record in the league from like February to the end of this season. Like a 27-8-3 or something like that.
But can you blame him? It's Randy Carlyle.
Good one, Randy.
Anyway,
Um, I don't know if the coaching was the issue in our lack of fire that I'd already talked about in the playoffs, or what. But I know that at least I believe that it was the coaching that was the reason for our little quote unquote survival tactics.
mm-hmm.
Like against Dallas in that first game where you go up 3-4 goals, and then holy shit, Jamie Benn scored, and so did Tyler Seguin and Antoine Roussel. So now it's really close. I don't think that the players do that themselves. I believe that it's a coach's decision to say, hey, dump it in and get back. Play defensively. Put it all on the shoulders of Jonas Hiller, because we all know that's a good idea. So I don't know. I'm tired of like really good regular seasons and then shit in the bed in playoffs. And if that's a consistent thing, maybe Barbecue Bruce is cursed, or something else. I know Temu's not a fan of his barbecue, and maybe that's why he opened a steakhouse instead of a barbecue joint with him. I don't know, but we're gonna see, because I'm gonna be keeping an eye on that more.
Okay. You brought up the whole Timu Solani thing about him, so I guess kind of this isn't one of the questions I had for you, but do you want to kind of talk about all the thing that kind of came out between him and what happened with Bruce, and your kind of take on that?
I really didn't read into that too much, other than the fact that here's my opinion on it, on the very little that I've read. In my opinion, Teemu Solani got the ice time he deserved. Not a lot. Maybe it was that we were playing him on lower lines and he wanted to play with Getzoff and Perry, but I would watch him miss shots or fan or just look like he was gassed in the third period, and I understand that you're older now. You're not the young Finnish Flash with, all jets are going and going and going. And I think that he might be having a hard time with that, with just dealing with the fact that he's not that same player anymore. And I get the fact that if you're in a sense of denial, you would turn and put it on a coach, because the coach is the one that's going to tell you the truth, because, dude, you're not performing to the level that you should be to be playing first or second line, so guess what? You're playing third and fourth. Well, F you, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. I deserve better. Really, though, I didn't read into it much. I saw that there was a lot of stuff in Finnish. I don't speak Finnish, nor do I read Finnish.
The book was
and
only
I'm
released
too
in
lazy to
Finland
right
for now,
click and
so.
hit. Oh, and I'm too lazy to right click and hit translate to English on Google Chrome. So I guess we're gonna leave that as another unsolved mystery.
Yeah, for right now, the book is only released in Finnish. I think next year it comes out in English or something. I'm not quite sure. I know we're trying to get somehow try to get a copy of it translated for us, but yeah, that's a different
I
story.
bet you. I bet you could pay somebody to do it.
I mean, we do have a Twitter member that we all kind of talk to that is from Finland. He's Finnish, so we're trying to get him to get us a copy of it translated. But yeah.
Uh, I'll do. I got 5 on it.
So
I'll throw down 5.
I guess we'll head into the off season next. So kind of talk about who you drafted during the draft that was in Philadelphia this year, and kind of your thoughts on them if you kind of
All
looked into them.
Really, the only person I looked into was our first round pick from the Peterborough Petes of the Ontario Hockey League, Nick Ritchie. He's a 6'2", 226-pound left winger. He's a really big body, and he's kind of going into the same, mold that, Bob Murray's trying to get this like big bad boys club to compete against teams like the Kings and like the Bruins and these guys who all have these. They have big players.
Big skill
Yeah,
players.
they have these giant. Yeah, they have giant players who are firing on all cylinders, dump in, blast the guy going into the corner trying to get that puck, and make everybody pay for it. And I think it shows when you got your captain who's 6'4", 220. Corey Perry is tall. I don't know if anybody realizes that. Maybe it's because he looks like he's 12, but he's a big dude. Where is it? I want to see how tall he is. But look at Ryan Kessler's 6'2", 200 pounds. We're getting into this, and I know it's not like Zdeno Chara, like 8'12" type thing, but we're getting into this. Patrick Maroon, Matt Bolesky, even Devontae Smith-Pelly and Emerson Edom are big guys. We're getting into this like big bad boys club that we're trying to make. Marcus Peterson was our second draft this year, or our second pick this year. Kid's 6'4", although on his draft, where is it? On his draft sheet, it said he was like, I think it said he was like 180 or something, like 6'4", 180. I'm 6'5", 180. So if he can do it, where's my contract? Okay. We also drafted Brandon Montour and Matthew Berkovitz, who are also defensemen. I think we're kind of stacking for the long run on our blue line. And then I hope I don't butcher his name, but it's Andre Case, who's a right winger that we drafted as our last draft this year. And I really don't know much about Montour, Berkovitz, or Case. I just know Peterson's really tall. He's Swedish, and I think it's Pucks of a Feather tweets about his skeleton games a lot. And Nick Ritchie is supposedly a big dude with silky mitts. So I'm looking forward to going to the preseason games Monday and Tuesday night. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be able to watch and kind of make an assessment and see, if Bob Murray's really earning his GM of the Year award.
Okay. So, you guys made one of the biggest splashes this year during this offseason, trading for Ryan Kessler. You gave up Nick Bonino, I think I said that right.
Yeah.
Lucas Visa, and a first round and a third round for Kessler, and a 2015 third round pick. So, what are your feelings on this trade and everything that kind of goes along with it?
I think in my opinion, Vancouver got a steal. Um, Bonino is a young gun who had 49 points. He was the third in points on our team, only to Getzlaf and Perry, who were, let's face it, they're two out of this world players. He's a young kid. He's fast. He's fast. He's fast. He's fast. He has great hands, and he's clutch as all hell. He had the game-tying goal with 15 seconds left in the BU against Miami, Ohio game, the championship game in '09. If any, I'm sure Chris knows that story. And then he had this series ender in Dallas. It just seems like the kid, he has a hockey IQ. He's got all the intangibles. He's got a great hockey IQ, and it seems like his positioning is really well. He knows how to use his speed and his agility to his advantage, being that he's not such a big player. And he's got a great shot. I think that Vancouver really got a great player in Bonino, and they took a huge load off our back with Lucas Spiza. My freaking God. You want to talk about what you were talking about, Ben Lovejoy in Pittsburgh? That might be comparable, if not a little bit better than how I feel about Lucas Spiza. He's either hurt or he just plays like he's not there. You know what I mean? He's not very productive in my opinion. I don't know. To me, he turns over a lot. He's not a big hitter, and he's not where he should be a lot of the time. And I feel like with defense, for me, if I notice you playing defense and it wasn't a great shot block or that you cut off a passing lane on a 2-on-1, if I notice you while you're playing defense, you're doing something wrong. So wrong that I'm going out of my way to stop watching the play to look at you while you're messing up. I'm hoping that the Ducks are seeing this Kessler trade as, I would have hoped that they would have sent like Paul Mary or somebody less, or at least taken out that first round pick, because Kessler is kind of we're kind of banking on him making an upturn when he comes to Anaheim, because he's not been doing very well, even though he has the potential. I'm not entirely satisfied with the trade. I think we gave away a little too much, and I'm really I'm happy for Bonino that he's gonna get to keep playing, and that he's going to be going to Vancouver in a big hockey city. And Kessler, I hope makes this trade worth it for us. But for now, I got my fingers crossed.
Okay, and you're welcome for Lucas Spiza. He was the Flyers' first-round pick. And
Oh, I
traded
know
for
that.
him for Chris Pronger.
I know that.
You're welcome.
I had thought for the longest time that was the only reason we kept him, was that somebody in the front office was going, guys, come on, like, I made that trade, like, I made that happen. Like, if you just get rid of him and you don't sign him, I'm gonna look like an idiot. Please, just give him like $500,000 for like 3 seasons. Just let him live at the Marriott down the street. Just let him play. But yeah, I don't know.
'Cause I know people in Philadelphia were very high on him, and they still liked
Really?
him when we traded him away. Yeah,
You just liked him because he wasn't
he was
going
our
to be on
only
your team anymore.
We liked him because he was the first like defenseman we like drafted in like 7 years in the first round. So that's why we were high on him. I don't think he even play a game for Philly. Can't remember.
I couldn't answer that.
I'm looking it up right now. No, Anna, he did not play a game for us, so that could be why we liked him. No,
Yeah, because he didn't
He
have.
did play 39 games for us, and he didn't really do much.
Yeah, not
But
enough time to completely let you down.
yeah. In his rookie season, so we probably gave him a big break. In honesty, if he did anything bad.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know. Good riddance to bad rubbish.
you guys made a couple different signings this year. You signed Clayton Stoner, Jason LaBarbera, and then you also signed the All-Star, Danny Heatley. Kind of, what are your feelings on all these signings that you guys did?
I'm gonna put this one to rest pretty early. Danny Heatley, best free agent pickup in any offseason ever. Okay, that's enough said. Everyone's like 1507. No. 114/15.
We're seeing it as everyone's saying now 50 and 14. So you think that's possible?
No. He's going 114. Because you get it though, right? Because it's like times two and times
Mm-hmm.
two. I mean, I don't know. I would be surprised if he. I would be more than surprised if he had 50 goals this year. Um, although if his chemistry with Perry and Getzloff, if his chemistry with Perry and Getzloff is something of note, and they all play well together, I wouldn't be surprised to see him have like a 60-point season, 50-point season. He's at the end of his career. He wants to win. He has a lot of skill, and he doesn't have to be number one or number two guy or number three guy or whatever you want to call him anymore. In a way, for me, he plays a lot like Marian Gaborik does, where he plays a lot better on a team where he's not the go-to guy. If you look at Gaborik's track record, they wanted him to be the guy in Columbus. They wanted him to be the guy in New York, and both places I feel like he had too much weight on his shoulders, and he didn't perform. And then he comes to LA, and he has this group of guys who are guys that he can feed off of, and if he makes a mistake, they're right there to have his back. And I think that with Danny Heatley, it might be the same way. Granted, Heatley is the all-star, so he's not going to be making mistakes like that.
Obviously not.
Obviously not. I don't know. I guess the hope is that him and the twins over there, gets off and Perry, they complement each other like lamb and tuna fish. Are they? I think going along with other free agent signings, Jason LaBarbera was a really necessary pickup, because you can't have Anderson and Gibson, who are in their prime learning years, and have them be switching off on a night-to-night basis, and have them grow to their true potential. I don't think that works. I think that you need to have one of them in the NHL with another backup goalie to play on the doubleheader nights, and have the other one playing at your affiliate team. Because if they're both not consistently playing and consistently training, then you are wasting their time and yours. And I think Jason LaBarbera is the perfect little void filler or gap filler. He was terrible with the Kings and terrible with the Coyotes.
I thought he was not bad for the Coyotes. I thought he was like average. Or
Um,
am I just completely missing it because I don't really watch the Coyotes much?
I'm pretty sure he was like the backup guy, and
I could be
or
thinking of Thomas
he
Greiss though, so
no, Grice wasn't that bad.
that's who I could be thinking of then.
Um, no, LaBarbera was LaBarbera Brizgalov's backup.
Let's
I
see.
feel like he was. I feel like LaBarbera was Brizgalov's backup in he was in Phoenix when good old Wayne Gretzky over there was the coach.
Yeah, he played for them from 2009 to 2013, so that's when Brizgalov was there.
Yeah, that's when I remember him being there. But he hopefully is
His numbers weren't terrible. Well, not massively terrible.
we'll give him the benefit of the doubt just because he's on my team now.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean last year he was horrendous for the AHL, but
yeah. Well, he's a cheap guy who has an
mhm,
NHL experience,
that's really all
and
you need.
yeah. So and he's not going to be playing that many games. He'll be playing the back-to-back nights, and that's about it. You know what I mean? If
Or the
because if
random
Anderson
star.
if Anderson gets hurt, then Gibson will be coming from the AHL to take Anderson's spot.
Hmm.
It's not like we need LaBarbera unless Anderson and Gibson go to shit. In which case, we're gonna have some problems here. Um, but I think LaBarbera's gonna get the boot somewhere at the end of the stretch of the regular season, and
Hmm.
Gibson and Anderson will be switching off to
Kind of get them ready for the playoffs.
yeah, because you're not gonna have Jason LaBarbera backing up one of your guys in the playoffs and hoping for the cup. Um, and as for Clayton Stoner, I really don't know a lot about him. Um, I I don't know. I think it's a lot of money for a guy who didn't do much in the last few seasons, and he's not a big fan favorite on on his team. And he's not exactly the guy I think of when I think of a blue line veteran.
Hmm.
Um, which, like I said earlier, is what I think that our team needs. Because you can't have top defensive prospects like I still consider Cam Fowler a top prospect, as well as Lindholm and Vatanen. You can't have them be going through their early seasons and not having a really solid guy to be there to give them pointers and to be an on and off the ice presence in their lives. Um, I don't know. Maybe he'll be a great addition, but for now, I'm going to have some healthy skepticism.
Okay. So you guys lost some pretty big names for your team this year. You talked about earlier how you lost Jonas Hiller, which you don't seem to really be torn up about. We also lost Matayu Perot, who I think you got as a trade for Dustin Penner, and then Stefania Robert. I can't even not even attempt for that last name. I am horrible with
Stefan
pronouncing names.
Robida.
Yeah, that one. I am horrible with last names. I apologize. How do you think losing these three people affect your team?
Well, the loss of Jonas Hiller wasn't really that at all. He wasn't as sharp as he used to be, and he again failed to clutch up in the playoffs. He was going to be wanting money and contract years that we didn't feel he deserved, and that was it. Business is business. He was with us for a long time, and for as much shit as I give him, um, you know, Hiller did a lot for our team, so I want to say thank you. But it was just his time to go. Matthew Perreault, on the other hand, was, in my opinion, a huge loss. Um, because along with him and Bonino was the third in scoring on our team, and Perreault was fourth with 18 goals and 25 assists. And the guy wins over 50% of his draws. He's a fast guy, he's agile, and he works. Plus, he looked like Borat, and it made me laugh. But I guess the hope is that Nate Thompson is the guy that's going to be, swooping in on that third line, center spot where we had Perreault. So we'll see. I really don't know.
And what about Robidas? I know you kind of covered him earlier, but how does he really affect your team, losing him?
He was the guy that I wished we had. But he's the guy I think of when I think of a veteran defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
He just knew where he was supposed to be. He was a hardworking guy. And really, the guy took no shit. Brian Allen's like 6'5" and like 220 or 225, and the guy won't fight anybody. But Stefan Robidas will get in anybody's face. Doesn't matter who it was. And I used to hate him so much when he played for Dallas, which is why I loved him when he came to our team. Because he was that guy. He's like a Corey Perry or he's a Brad Marchand. I hate Brad Marchand so much. But I know if he was on our team, I would love him and his giant nose.
Can confirm. Everybody hates Marchand.
Well, everyone hates Corey Perry but me because I love what he does. And, that's what Stefan Robidas was for me. He was a great veteran defenseman who knew what his job was, did his job well, and wasn't afraid to get dirty.
Mm-hmm.
And I was horrified to see that leg break. I don't like seeing anybody get hurt, whether it's Brad Marchand or my captain. Either end of the spectrum, I don't like seeing anybody get hurt. And I'm glad that he made a recovery and that he got picked up by Toronto, I believe.
I think it was, yeah.
And you know what? Good for him because I want him, to finish out his career and have a healthy career. But yeah, I think that he was, although he wasn't with us for very long, I think he probably would have had another season or two under his belt with us before he retired. I think that those 2 seasons would have been very important for our young defensemen now and the prospects to come as well.
Okay. So, training camp is actually going on right now, probably for your team. But do you think anything's going to happen, like any type of moves will happen before the actual season starts? Are you going to sign anybody? You going to trade anybody?
I was worried about the Devontae Smith-Pelly thing. I'm glad that he got his contract because I think that going forward. And by the way, the guy earned that one-way contract, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm extremely happy for him as well as our team because I think that the level of intensity that a young guy who is tooth and nail fighting to get into the NHL brings is something that you can't trade. You know what I mean? You can't teach somebody to have that fire, and you can't. You become that fire in a moment, and I think that he has that quality to him. And other than him, I really didn't. I don't think I see anything else happening, unless there's a defensive pickup. I don't think there will be. But that would be my guess, is that we pick up a veteran defenseman sometime this season. And maybe LaBarbera gets the boot, or I don't know. I can't think of anything, because I really like our offense. I have a few qualms with our defense, and our goaltending is really in this weird gray area, because I'm worried about the backup to the young guy still learning. You know what I mean? Um, Other than that, I think we're good to go, and we'll see what happens coming down to the trade deadline towards the end of the season.
Okay. So now we're going to head into the next season portion of the kind of the interview thing here. So how do you truly feel about this season coming up?
Plan the parade. No. I don't know. I want to be hopeful, but I also don't want to get my hopes up and my heart broken again. Um, and I think that's important. I think that um, there's a need for a healthy dose of skepticism, and also hope. Um, I don't know. I think it's going to be tough, seeing that you know, LA is basically still the same team as last season.
Mm-hmm.
And Chicago is as well. Let's be honest, the time of the East is over, and it has been over, and the West will rule, because West Coast, Best Coast, and yeah, I don't know. I think that the best course of action is to let Chicago and LA beat the shit out of each other, and then beat whoever wins, and then win it all.
Okay.
I think that's the way to do it, to be honest.
So do you
But
think that you're going to say something? Go ahead.
no. Go ahead.
I was going to start into the next section, so if you wanted to say something before we did
Oh, I
that.
was just gonna say plan the parade again.
Okay. So what do you think your lineup's going to look like?
I think it's gonna be Getzloff, Perry, and Heater. Kessler, Smith, Pelly, Maroon. Thompson, Cogliano, Palmieri, and then Raquel, Edom, Silverberg. And that's kind of just throwing it together. I like Getzloff and Perry together always. I think we got Danny Heatley to play with them. Ryan Kessler is obviously going to be the second line center. I like Smith, Pelly, and I like Maroon. They both play. Although that whole second line is kind of they're not really shooters as much as they are assist guys. So there'll be some nice passing, I guess. Andrew Cogliano and Cal Palmieri are all three really fast guys who it's going to be interesting to watch. And then Raquel and Silverberg are both Swedish, and then I like Emerson Edom, so I put them on the fourth line together.
Okay.
And then for the D pairings, I would say go Lindholm and Fowler, Allen and Stoner, Boschman and Lovejoy, and then toss in Vatanen and Fistrick somewhere.
Okay. And your goaltenders, we kind of already know how they're probably going to fall.
Oh yeah, it'll be Anderson with LaBarbera backing him up, and then Gibson playing in the AHL with Igor Bobkov backing him up.
Okay.
Jesus, what's up with those?
Okay, so you're probably thinking you're gonna be buyers at the trade deadline.
Absolutely. I think
If
that
you do make any moves, yeah.
I think I think we'll be looking for a quarterback and veteran defenseman. Probably somebody who's in their last few years, and who's looking to win a cup. You know what I mean? Somebody who just kind of realizes this is their last chance, just like I think Danny Heatley is. Um, and that's no disrespect to Heatley at all, or whatever veteran defenseman we pick up, if we do at all, because I'll be worried going into the playoffs if we don't, to be honest.
Okay. So, next question: do you think your team's gonna make the playoffs? You obviously do.
Absolutely.
So, we'll just kind of skip that. Now to kind of into the fun questions at the end. Who do you think is gonna score the most goals on your team?
Corey Perry, hands down.
Okay. And the most points?
Ryan Getzlaf.
And now my favorite question to ask. So just say everything goes to shit and you guys are just bad this year. Who is being thrown under the bus, do you think?
Barbecue Bruce Boudreau. I think that his track record in Washington precedes him. I think the last 2 years of early playoff exits will precede him, along with this new what is the word for it? I guess his quarrels with Teemu Solani, his little debacle here we got going. I think that's going to have a big part to play with it, and Bob Murray's really going to get looked at as a fool if you have all the tools in Getzlaf, Perry, Heatley, all these great players on your team. You got great goaltending in the midst, and you can't do anything with it. Barbecue Bruce gets thrown under the bus, fired, and John Tortorella becomes the new head coach of the Anaheim Ducks. Next question.
Well, that's actually the last question I have for you.
I just wanted to say next question, though.
Okay, so thank you for joining us for this. I hope you had fun and enjoyed it.
Oh, always a good time.
Okay, so Chris, you want to unmute yourself?
I'm here, woohoo!
We are now going to be starting the Bruins coverage on our HockeyCast here, but so without further ado, let me just tweet that out. So, are you ready for this, Chris?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
So, as I said before, one of the first things we like to do is talk about this past season, and you and have the fans here give us an overview on how your season went and how your postseason went, in your opinion. So, kind of do that for us here.
October, good. January, good. February, good. March, we got 29 out of a possible 32 points with a 12-game winning streak, which was the longest in the year, and a 15-game point streak. Then we started hitting April. We didn't do so well, and then the playoffs, where we had the flu the entire first game against Detroit, and we lost that 1-0 off of a ridiculous Datsuk goal. And then we won the next 4 games, but having to go to overtime for a couple of them, and it was really hard fought. Then we started playing Montreal, and we decided instead of to, actually try and outscore them and out-hockey them, that we were going to out-Bruin them and prove how tough we were. And yeah, we didn't actually play hockey, so that didn't help out at all. We lost in 7 games, and we didn't show up the last 2 games at all. So that was fun.
It was a very entertaining series for everyone else, though.
I don't know about that.
Okay, so if you didn't have anything else to say, I guess we'll head into the forwards portion. So kind of talk about how your forwards did this season and give them a grade also.
With all the talk about how Brad Marchand had an off season and all that stuff, he still had 25 goals without any power play time. and was a rock on our penalty kill, so I'm going to give him a B. Patrice Bergeron, I'm just going to say he's perfect, give him an A+, and move on, because we all know that's true. And then for the right wing spot on that line, Riley Smith, just coming out of absolutely nowhere. Still not signed yet, but it's kind of, if one of the new guys steps up in that role and shows that it's not because of Riley Smith that he scored 20 goals and all that, it was because of Bergeron, then we'll see how that works. But I'll give him a B+ for now, and that line was one of the best lines possession-wise in the entire league. They took the worst possible zone starts against the toughest competition and was just ridiculous. Bergeron led the entire league in terms of Corsi percentages with like 60.1%, which is just absolutely absurd. At even strength, he was, let's see, Bergeron's Corsi for, well, he was really good, so there's that. And then for our 1A line, Milan Lucic, as much as I would love to see him traded because he's not worth the $6 million, still had a pretty good season. I'll give him a B. And then David Krejci, he led the team in points. So, I mean, he had to do something right there. So I'll give him a B+. He had 44 points, 5-on-5, and I think it was 50 or 69 points. And Jerome McGinley, the other Bruins 30-goal scorer. Last time the Bruins had two 30-goal scorers was before the first lockout, which is just ridiculous. So, I mean, that says something.
That long ago?
Yep. I think it was Glenn Murray and Brian Ralston who had 30 goals twice. But, I mean, we've had so many people with, like, the high 20s goals. We had, like, in 2011, we had 9 20-goal scorers. So we're really built on depth, which is starting to be a problem because when you have good players, and a lot of them, they want to get paid, which is why we're screwed with this whole cap situation. Not because we have too many bad contracts, but because we have too many good players, which is kind of a good thing to have.
Also bad when it comes to re-signing the youngins.
Yep. And then for the third line, Carl Soderberg, I'm going to give him an A. He went beast mode once we put him at center after Chris Kelly got hurt. And then while Chris Kelly was hurt still. Chris Kelly, I'll give him a B-. I mean, could have probably given him a C, but when he went down, our penalty kill went to shit. So then when he came back, it was huge. Louis Eriksson with 2 concussions and just having the worst season you could ever possibly have. I mean, I'll give him a C because what else do you really expect from a guy who has 2 concussions and your brain turns to scrambled eggs? And the second half of the year, once he came back and got into a rhythm with Soderberg, he was great. Like, that third line was our best line in the playoffs. Which is kind of sad because it's your third line, and David Krejci's led the playoffs in points 2 times when the Bruins won the Cup in 2011 when we went to the finals last year. So it's kind of underperforming by him, but oh well.
Yeah.
Dan Paille. Wheels, but absolutely no hands whatsoever. Whenever someone gets hurt, he just moves up the lineup and can fit in wherever. So he's kind of Claude Julien's jackknife of a player.
Okay.
Probably give him a B. Gregory Campbell. Whew. Well, he was good before he broke his leg, and now he came back probably a little too early, and his leg is not the greatest, and he's slow, not very good possession-wise, decent on the penalty kill, but I mean, that's a C, C-. He's easily replaceable. And part of me really hopes that we just kind of, I'd hope we bought him out on the offseason, but no, penny pinching. Jacobs would not allow that. And then Gregory Campbell, I mean, not Gregory Campbell, Sean Thornton, who there was such a hubbub about, oh, how are the Bruins going to deal with losing him? We're going to get better. So,
Not a fan of Sean Thornton, I'm guessing.
at this stage of his career, no. I loved him before, but he's like 37, 38, and he's past his prime, and he's not exactly good anymore. He's a good guy, but not a good hockey player in comparison to the rest of the league. I mean, he could probably skate circles around me, but... And then moving on to the defense, Zdeno Chara. I mean, the youth that we have, we went through a huge youth movement on defense between last year and this year. Last year, I looked it up, at the beginning of the season, like the games played at the beginning of the season, for the players that were on the ice for Game 6 in the Cup Finals, and then Game 7 against Montreal this year, we had an average of 436 games played per defenseman, and that includes Krug with 0 NHL games played before the year, last year, so when we made the Cup Finals. And without Chara, there was still a 321 games per player average. So we were pretty veteran there. And then this year, looking at it, with Chara, there's still a 228 game played average, but without him, 62. We played a game without Chara, without Hamilton, without Seidenberg. Johnny Boychuk was our veteran defenseman, and he still hadn't played 300 games.
Wow.
We got too young too quick. I mean, we would have been fine if Seidenberg didn't get hurt, but he blew out his knee, and that was kind of it. We scrambled trying to find another top 4 defenseman, and we couldn't find one, so we got screwed. But I do have to say I was really impressed with Dougie Hamilton this year. He took huge steps, and if he keeps playing as good as he did, I think we found our next Chara. So, sorry, League, and thank you, Sagan. Thank you, Kessel. Thank you, Toronto. And this is all from this year, not talking about next year, but because we don't really know what the fate of Johnny Boychuk is, sadly. I'd love to keep him, but he had a great year. Probably give him a B. Just played a ridiculous amount of games, extremely solid, didn't have to worry about him. He didn't put up a fuss when we put him with Andre Mazzaros and Matt Barkowski and whatever trash we rolled out next to him, but very good defenseman, and I'll be sad to see him leave because he's probably going to leave. Matt Barkowski, probably give him a B-. Everyone loves to hate on him because he was put in a top 4 role because he was the closest player we had to be able to fill that. And he took bad penalties and just was not good overall. But everyone just loved to hate on him for it, so it's tough. Like, if we'd put any other defenseman in that role, they would have been so much worse, but because it was him, and he played 20 games in the NHL over 3 seasons before this year. So he's still young. Dennis Seidenberg, who got hurt, give him a B. I mean, if we had managed to somehow win that Game 7, he would have been back, and then I think we could have won the Cup. Because that just improves our defense so much more. And it takes a load off of Chara's shoulders, because he was playing like 25, 30 minutes with 2 broken fingers. He still can't feel his fingers. It's ridiculous. And then third pairing, Adam McQuaid, incomplete. He didn't play much at all. Kept getting hurt. He'd play like 3 games, get hurt, come back, play 3 games, get hurt. And then he just finally was like, all right, screw it. I'm just going to have this season-ending ankle surgery because I'm not coming back. Kevin Miller, give him a C, C+. He was great depth guy coming up from Providence when we really didn't have a ton of other options, and he was huge in terms of just being able to be somewhat steady on defense and not having to shelter him as much, even though he did. But and then Torrey Krug, I'm going to give him an A because we went from the bottom 10 power plays the last 3 years to being number 3, which is just ridiculous. But he had an absolute rocket of a shot, and just a great 14 goals, 40 points. Just really solidified our power play. And another guy who's not signed yet, but hopefully he'll sign and we'll be okay. And then for goaltending, Tuukka Rask, I mean, A. He won the Vezina. Can't really say much about that.
Picking him for the Vezina the entire year, so.
I mean, he's one of the best goalies in the league.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're pretty solid on that. And then for hi, I'm Chad Johnson. Give him a B. He didn't do so well in the beginning of the season. It took him like 3 years to go from post to post, so every wraparound they tried was a friggin' goal. But once we called, it was strange. Once we called up Nicholas Svedberg for a game against Nashville, he started playing a lot better. Who knows? This competition thing could be good.
Okay.
And then for coaching, oh boy. So regular season, I'd give him a B because he managed to keep everyone rested, juggle the lines, make it all work, especially in terms of the Louis Eriksson injury. And once he found out that Soderberg was so much better at center than wing, he kept him there and didn't deal with it, which is great because you're able to just keep players and put them in the best positions to succeed. Like Torrey Krug had something like 75% of his non-neutral zone starts in the offensive zone, which is what you want from an offensive defenseman. His best attribute is his shot, so put him in a spot where he can use his shot a lot. And then Chara was the forward who was in the defensive zone the most because he can take the puck from the defensive zone and put it in the offensive zone. And then same with Bergeron and like all the centers. The one thing that's going to kind of make it tougher for him is going to be the whole new rule change with you can't have, like if the center gets tossed on the face-off after an icing, the first time's a warning and the second time is a bench minor, because we do that all the time. We'd have Bergeron and Marchand out there, and Marchand would just, true to Marchand, he would just be a complete dick and try and cheat as much as possible on the face-off because he was either going to win it or he was going to get thrown out and give Bergeron that extra 15 seconds to get a breather.
So are we going to refer to that as the Bruins rule now? I guess?
Look, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I mean, with the whole Iginla contract and deferring most of that till next year, I mean, this was supposed to be our year, right or wrong, but oh well. But in the playoffs, I'm sorry, he's going to get a C because you put Sean Thornton out there with 5 minutes left in Game 7 against Montreal. What the fuck are you doing? He kept trying to roll 4 lines when we didn't have a good 4th line this year. And that's just, I don't know, it's just we had 3 great lines. Play the 3 lines. They're relatively rested because we played 4 lines the entire year. Instead of like Toronto where they played like 10 forwards, 9 forwards. We played all 12 guys relatively a relatively even amount. So you
Mhm.
can rely on just 9 guys for a couple games. But he didn't want to do that and came back to bite us.
Okay. So now heading into the off season, kind of talk about who you drafted in the draft in Philadelphia this year. If you kind of looked into them. So
A little bit. Well, I mean, I'm sure every single Bruins fan knows all about David Pastrnak because the Bruins have been shoving him down our throats with talking about how he might be able to make the team and play in the first 2 lines, and he's a right shot right wing, which we currently have 0 of. Um, his idol is David Krejci, so he's pretty pumped about that. And he just had a shoulder injury yesterday or today, so the Pasternak hype train might be derailed a little bit. And then Ryan Donato, just Harvard boy, you know, from the Boston area, center. I mean, we really loaded up with forwards this draft. We only had one defenseman, Emil Johansson, who's pretty solid stay-at-home guy. So hopefully that works out because Peter Chiarelli's drafting the past couple years hasn't exactly been the greatest, with notable superstars Zach Hamill, Jordan Caron. I mean, it gets pretty ugly when you look at that. I mean, Logan Couture was drafted 1 slot behind Zach Hamill, so
there's still time. There's still hope.
yeah. I mean, they're starting. I mean, this year is gonna be a lot of young kids
Yeah.
because we need them because they're cheap, and we're effectively paying for 2 unrostered players, and they're pretty sizable cap hits.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark Savard right now, who's getting 4 mil against the cap. I know we can long-term injured reserve him, but that doesn't start. If we want to get the most benefit for that, it doesn't start until the
Until the
beginning
first.
of the season. I know you're a Flyers fan. You understand this whole thing. It's
Yeah. I
I
understand your pain.
I really wish that someone had explained to Peter Chiarelli that you could actually buy him out and have it not count against the cap, and you don't have to deal with this whole song and dance every year because you're able to buy out injured players as long as it's mutual. And I think as long as the Bruins were like, look, we will pay for your medical care for the rest of your life,
Mm-hmm.
but we want to be able to have you retire and do what you want to do. Because right now he's going to be a scout for the Ottawa 67s, which technically, because it's not an NHL team, he's able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if he was going to try and be an NHL scout, then he couldn't. So you might as well.
Yeah, he doesn't have a 35 plus contract, so why doesn't he? He can just retire and not have to worry about the cap.
Oh, yes, but cap recapture because we
Yeah, that's the
front
thing.
loaded the
Right.
poop
Right.
out of that deal.
Forgot you guys gonna get hit with the cap recapture for that.
Yeah, so if we bought him out with the compliance buyout, we wouldn't have had to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
But oh well, nothing we can do about it.
Okay, so you guys kind of lost a few different players this year. I think the big one is Jerome Gingla. And you also lost Andre Mazzaros, who you probably don't even care about. We didn't care about him, that's why we traded him away.
Yeah, but you
Lost
got
Sean
Andrew
Thornton.
McDonald, so I mean you're all set there, right?
Yeah, we also got a draft pick, which got us a pretty good player. We got a draft pick somewhere out of the line. So you lost Sean Thornton, Chad Johnson. So kind of how do you think losing these, well, kind of 3 people, ignoring Andre Mazzaros, how do you think 3 of them kind of affect your team?
Uh, well, it's, we lost Jerome McGinley the person, but we didn't lose Jerome McGinley the cap hit, and that's what really matters. But the other 3 are just extremely replaceable. Chad Johnson was a great backup, but we signed him because he was cheap. He was veteran minimum, and now we have Nicholas Svedberg, who was the AHL Goalie of the Year 2 years ago, and split time with Malcolm Subban last year. So we're pretty good in the whole goaltending depth. Andre Mazzaros, I mean, cool, he didn't play in the playoffs, so he doesn't matter. Sean Thornton, yay, we're better. I love you, Thornton, but we're so much better without you now. We could actually roll a fourth line that involves some skill. We probably won't because, that would make too much sense, right?
Yeah.
And then Jerome Iginla is definitely one that hurts, but he's going to have a tougher time in Colorado because they're a faster-paced offense. He's not going to have a month off in the middle of the season, and he's not going to have a week off at the end of the season because we're just all right, so we're 12 points up on the second-place team in the East, so we're just going to kind of coast a bit.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't play hardly anyone. Bergeron played because he wanted to get 30 goals or whatever, and yeah, that's Bergeron for you. You could probably be winning 12-0, and he'd be out there giving it 100%. He just doesn't know when to stop, which is bad sometimes. But hopefully we'll find a way to replace that. But I'm going to be slightly homer and say that Louis Eriksson's going to score 30 goals this year if he's with Krejci, because he scored 11 goals this year after being concussed twice and just having a horrible, the worst year of his career.
Mm-hmm.
And he still managed to score 10 goals on the third line. So
Lou Eriksson is one of the best kept secrets of fantasy hockey.
I mean, if you put him on a line with Bergeron, I will go ahead and say that you'll probably get around 65% of the shots when they're on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
Between Marchand, Bergeron, and Eriksson, that's just a possession beast line. Eriksson, every single year, has done well possession-wise. Marchand, every single year, has been great possession-wise. And then Bergeron is just ridiculous. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see. They're all great defensively, too, so who knows how that's going to go. But I'd like to see Eriksson with Krejci, because Krejci alone can't really drive play, and Lucic, well, he's not exactly... He's feared, but he also does a lot of stupid shit. So we need someone to calm him down a little, which I think Iginla did a lot, because he actually played and competed every single game this year, something he hasn't done in a while.
All right. So, what was it? You guys, training camp is kind of starting this year, and I know you guys don't have much cap space right now. But do you think you're going to be making any more moves going into the season?
I mean, well, we kind of have two really good young players who haven't been signed yet, and we have 9 NHL defensemen. So I'm definitely seeing a trade involving someone on 1 or 2 players on defense to free up some cap space. I've been floating this this trade proposal for a while, which is Johnny Boychuk and Chris Kelly to Edmonton for Jeff Petrie and a draft pick or a depth forward, but they don't exactly have depth forwards. So I kind of really, really want to see that, because we'd free up $3.5 million in cap space, get a serviceable top 4 defenseman and back in Petrie, who's a UFA at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it makes too much sense, because Edmonton has no center depth. They're going to go into the year throwing another center into the top 6 in his rookie year, and without making him really compete for it.
Mm-hmm.
His only the only other option they have to put at 2C is Mark Arcobello, and guess what? He's a sophomore, and he's 3 feet tall. So there's no competition there. I mean, meanwhile, the Bruins have like 12 guys fighting for 5 spots. Hell, we brought in Ville Leno, Simon Gagne, Bracken Kearns, and then all of our youth to try and fill those roles. But who knows?
Mm-hmm.
We're definitely trading someone. Question is who. I just don't get why Chiarelli hasn't made a trade earlier so that we could actually sign Krug and Smith before going into training camp, because they're going to be second-year players, and this is one of the years where you make huge steps. Second and third years is when you make really big steps. They're probably going to have to take 1 or 2 year deals, and then we'll just delay the inevitable, because next year we're going to have to sign Hamilton. If we want to try and re-sign Boychuk, I want Hamilton signed before the offseason because teams are going to offer sheet him. He's a great defenseman, but we can't keep doing this every year where the only reason they weren't offer sheeted is because of a technicality. Both Krug and Smith, their first years, didn't play 10 professional games, so it didn't count towards going to be able to be offer sheeted. In terms of restricted free agency, you have to play 3 years of 10 professional games, and they've only played 2. So they're entry-level free agents, not restricted free agents, although it's entry-level free agents are a subcategory of that. And it's like too many freaking technicalities. It's just, I don't get how you can't. You have all summer to make a move, and you didn't do it.
You could just wait for Savard's cap hit to come off so you can sign him.
It's not going to be enough.
Well, he has like what, $4 million? Guys are only like what, 800 over?
Yeah, we're 800,000 over, so that would mean they'd have to each take a deal at around 1.6 million, and I don't see them doing that.
Even just like a 1 or 2 year deal at that much?
No, I think Krug's going to want 2.5, and I mean he should get 2.5, and Smith is going to get around 2 million. But I really want to see Smith on a short-term deal because we don't know if it was him pushing the play or if it was Bergeron.
Okay.
Which is why it'll be interesting to see this preseason, if they're still not signed, how other players do in that role, whether it be Pasternak if he plays, or Seth Griffith, or Alex Koklachev, Simon Gagne, whoever we put up there with Bergeron. If they can perform reasonably well, then we can kind of say, well, Riley, I mean, could have been Bergeron and not you who was pushing the plays, so why should we assume it was you?
All right. So your team invited Simone Gagne and Ville Leno, trying to recreate the 2010 Flyers on your team. And so do you think they're going to make your team?
Well, it depends on how the kids play. It's all competition at this point. It's basically, well, we got 5 spots and we got like 12 guys fighting for them, so have at it. Because the only spot I see like locked up in the bottom 6 is Carl Soderberg as our number 3 center. Everywhere else is, I hope, is up for grabs. Because, I mean, Gregory Campbell was asked if he'd feel comfortable moving to wing, and he said yes. And you know what? If we sent him down to the minors and called up a rookie instead, unless the rookie is getting paid more than $925,000, we would save on cap space. But what I think is going to end up happening is they'll put either Koklachev or Spooner at center on the 4th line and have Campbell play on the wing, and just when they're out there taking face-offs, they can just cheat as much as they want, knowing that Campbell's there to take the draw if they get tossed out. So just try and be aggressive and win the face-offs and all that while having a backup plan, because Claude Julien loves having 2 centers on a line. I mean, he did it with Sagan.
That completely.
Sagan and Bergeron, Soderberg, and Chris Kelly, and it's just like his favorite thing. But
Can never have too many two-way centers.
It really depends on how well they do and how well everyone else does in camp. Like, everything is up for grabs.
Okay.
We're trying to get as much competition as possible.
Please don't sign Simone Gagne. I don't want him to have to wear your jersey.
Dude, he's gonna be a second line right wing, first line right winger with
He's a left
Bergeron.
wing. He's a left wing.
Well, guess what? He's playing right wing.
I don't think he's ever played right wing in his entire career.
Well, in camp he was playing right wing, so
Was he?
we'll see.
Please don't. I don't want to have to see him in that color.
I mean,
Anyway,
he's gonna turn the tables on you and be a Flyers killer instead of a Bruins killer.
he wasn't in Tampa. He wasn't with the Kings. I don't think he
Well,
will be.
I mean, with Tampa and the Kings, was he ever healthy?
He was He was playing. He was very healthy when he was with Tampa. The Kings, he was not so much. He did have his concussion problems with the Kings. But in Tampa, he was fairly healthy from what I remember.
I mean, I really think this year off is gonna help him.
Oh yeah, I mean he had a big surgery during the off season, which apparently helped him a lot. It like got rid of a lot of his pains that he was having, and he felt better since then. But yeah, we'll see what happens with him. You never know. Okay, so you kind of talked about how Krug and Smith were not signed. When do you think they will be signed?
Whenever we make a trade.
Okay, no, that was easy.
I mean, I don't know when. I hope it's soon because I don't want them to miss a bunch of camp. But we have replacements for both of them. They might not be as good, but they're still serviceable. For defensemen, who like quarterback in the power play, we got David Warsofsky, who's by all accounts looked great at camp running the power play. He's similar mold as Krug. He's 5'9". He's got a shot, and he loves to work the power play. He had a great year in Providence last year, and he's one of the 9 NHL defensemen that Peter Chiarelli and Claude Julien were talking about at the end of the year. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Heading into this next season portion, how do you feel about this season coming up?
Scared shitless about the cap.
You get used to it. Don't worry about it.
Oh, tell me about it. Like,
You learn to love it. You learn to know it. You kind of just embrace it after a certain point.
to be completely honest, I would not mind if we managed to trade Lucic after this year. I think he's going to have a bounce back year this year, and then if we can manage to trade him, well, we might be able to keep Boychuk and everyone else, depending on how Pasternak plays, if he plays well. Because I think we can move Eriksson back to left wing, which is his normal spot. We could have Eriksson, Krejci, Pasternak, and then Marchand, Bergeron, and Smith. And then we can keep Soderberg, and he's not worth $6 million, and he's definitely not going to be worth whatever he wants next contract.
Mm-hmm.
So, but other than that, I'm actually really looking forward to next season. I'm interested in seeing what moves Shirley makes to get under the cap, but I don't know. I think we have a great shot at winning the cup next year again. I hope someone just knocks fucking Montreal out before we get to them, so we don't have to worry about actually playing hockey.
Right. So what do you think your lineup's going to look like?
I mean, if Krug and if Smith signs, I could tell you our top 6. But I honestly have no clue right now. There's going to be Krejci and Lucic, that's a pairing, and Marchand and Bergeron, that's a pairing. Carl Soderberg's our number 3 center. After that, it's basically throw darts.
Okay.
It depends on how they do in camp, all that stuff. I mean, nothing is set. I mean, Eriksson could be with Soderberg again, or he could be with Bergeron, or he could be with Krejci. He could be wherever. I mean, I have no clue what our lineup's going to look like. I don't know if it's going to have a lot of prospects in it, or if it's going to have more established players like Gagne, Plano. I mean, it's complete chaos. But our defense is kind of relatively set. I think if we trade Boychuk, then it becomes slightly more confusing. But I think it's going to be the top pairing should be Chara and Hamilton because they were absolutely dynamite during the playoffs and towards the end of the year. But hopefully Hamilton can keep learning from Chara, and they kind of cover for each other's mistakes. I mean, you got the youth and the veteran there. You got the slow guy, and you got the young kid. And then the second pairing is probably going to be Boychuk and Seidenberg. And if Boychuk gets traded, then Seidenberg slides over to that other side, and Bartkowski steps in unless we get another top 4 defenseman, because as we saw in the playoffs, we really only have 4 top 4 defensemen, and we have like 4 bottom pairing defensemen too, which is kind of good but kind of bad. And they also kind of cover for each other. Seidenberg's a lot better defensively. Bartkowski's a great skater, although he makes mistakes. So having Seidenberg there helps cover for that. And then the third pairing, it's kind of a toss-up between, if Krug signs, it's either going to be Warsofsky or Krug. And then on the other side, it's either going to be McQuaid, unless he gets traded, or Kevin Miller. If we do trade McQuaid, it's going to be because of the cap. I mean, he's getting twice as much as Miller, and he's going to be a UFA at the end of the year, so might as well try and get something for him. But it's not going to be a lot because he's had so many injury troubles.
Okay.
And then goaltending is pretty obvious. We only have 2.
Well, you're gonna start your backup, the backup, right? He's gonna be your starter.
Yeah, Malcolm Subban. Yeah,
You're moving backup Subban up, right?
yeah, we just dumped Tuukka Rask. You know,
He's worthless anyway.
guy's a bum. Like, he doesn't even know the name of the award he's gonna win. Like, come on.
All right, so I'm guessing you're probably gonna think you're gonna be buyers at the deadline.
We're gonna be buying at the dollar store, so that's pretty much it.
You'll have room from no, you probably won't after the contracts of Cruz.
Nah, we're not gonna have any room whatsoever.
You're welcome to our world.
Dude, we've been there before.
We've
But
been
see,
here
the
for the
difference
past
is-
5 years.
But I just want to say something. The difference is you're paying your defense $34 million,
Yeah.
but you don't have a good defense. We're paying our defense less, and we actually have a really good defense. So,
I'll trade you cap space for good defense.
I will give you Adam McQuaid and Johnny Boychuk for if you have, like, literally anything.
You can have Andrew MacDonald and Nicholas Grossman if you want. They're very fun.
See, the difference is, like, Boychuk is actually good.
McDonald's not bad if you have him on the if you have him on the third pairing.
What's his cap hit again?
I said on the third pairing. We're not talking about cap hits.
Well, I mean,
We're not talking about cap hits here.
okay.
Anyway, so your team is gonna make the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. Although Chara was non-committal when asked at, like, the State of the Bruins address a couple days ago. A little kid asked, "Do you think you're going to make the playoffs?" And Chara goes, "I hope so." It's like, damn it, Chara.
Just say yes.
I really don't see a scenario unless
Yeah,
we get absolutely destroyed by injuries.
Mhm.
I mean, even at goaltending, I think we have a solid backup, and our defense could step up and cover that. But unless Chara, Bergeron, like Krejci, like everyone gets hurt, then I think we'll be okay.
I mean, and then looking at your division also, who's going to take your spot that didn't make the playoffs last year? Florida? Ottawa?
Oh
Who?
I mean,
Like-
this is like our it's like talking about football with the Patriots. Like, we might not be the greatest team, but we're in a great division. So, I mean, we don't have to. Like, the Dolphins don't give us any trouble. The Bills don't give us any trouble. The Jets don't give us any trouble. We're just like
Mm.
We lost the first game of the season. It was like, yeah, we'll still win the division. Everyone else won their first game, and we're just like, yeah, whatever. We're still gonna win.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not going to have any problems coming up from your division. So, though Toronto did something, I don't think it's something enough to knock the Bruins from first place down to out of the playoffs.
Well, I mean, Toronto didn't fuck up this offseason, so that's kind of huge for them.
Well, they re-signed Carlisle to another contract. So, but he's going to only be signed just so Brandon Shanahan can fire him halfway through the season. Make it look like they're trying.
God, I hope he makes a friggin' video about that.
Just one of the NHL, the
You've been Shanahaned.
he has to do it. That'd be hilarious. So, who do you think is going to score the most goals on your team?
I mean, there's a lot of options. Eriksson, Krejci, Bergeron, Marchand, Lucic, like anyone in our top six.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not like we have an Ovechkin. We're just like, yeah, he's gonna win. But
Yeah.
we have a lot of good players. So
And who's going to score the most points?
she answered a previous question. Like really, it's probably gonna be Krejci because of the power play and all that stuff.
Okay.
But Bergeron is like too valuable in terms of all that. He gets so many more. He has a higher points per 60. He's the highest points per 60 on our team. 5-on-5, 5-on-4. He's close to the highest. I mean, he just doesn't play on the power play because we need him to play on the penalty kill and shut everyone else down. And
You get to rest him, yeah.
yeah, I mean, he can't play 3/4 of the game as much as we'd love that. Also, if anyone knows how to clone players, let me know because I would love a team of 20 Bergerons. I don't
You
even
should
care if he
ask
has to play
Yager,
goalie.
because I'm sure he's cloned himself a few times to play as long as he has.
Yeah, Yager could do it. Ask Yager about it. I mean, he was on your team. You already have a talk. You guys can already talk to him about it.
I mean, he kept freaking hitting the post. Like, god
You
damn
got
it.
the in.
That pissed me off so much. Like, if we had gotten Aginlo, I think it would have been so much. We would have probably won the cup just because Yager was so fucking snake bitten.
Yeah, that's funny. He went to the team that you guys knocked out, so you guys had sweet revenge in the end. Not only that you knocked out, but you kind of embarrassed along the way. So,
Yeah, I mean that's part of the reason why the recent like survey said we were the most hated team, like of the most populated subreddits. We've beaten like 9 of them, 9 of the top 10 the past 4 years in the playoffs.
yeah.
So losing to people tends to make you not like a team, right?
We don't have any problems with you because we embarrassed you one season, then the next season you embarrassed us. So I kind of feel like we're even.
Yeah, you know what? At least we know where the game-winning puck went.
We know where it went. We're just not like talking about it.
Well, Pronger knows where it went.
I don't think he
Somewhere.
does. I don't think he does anymore.
I don't think Pronger knows shit anymore. I don't think he knows who he is.
I don't think he knows where he went anymore.
All right, enough about bad concussion jokes.
Yeah. All right. So the last question, my favorite question to ask. Say everything is just bad and everything.
Matt Barkowski, Jordan Caron. Bam, done.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt Barkowski is going. He was the scapegoat this year when he probably shouldn't be.
Okay.
And Jordan Caron is just the easy scapegoat. He's getting paid a league minimum, and people still say he's overpaid. I'm like, no, you can't really be overpaid when you're getting $600,000. You're the 13th forward. I mean, at that point, you're just like, look, he's getting paid league minimum. He's been with the team before. He has some kind of chemistry with some players. He knows the system. Why not?
All right. So unless there's anything else you want to say, that's everything I have for you.
Char should have won the Norris. I mean, think about it. Keith wasn't even the best defensive player on the Blackhawks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. 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 All right. So I'd like to thank both of you for joining me today here. So, and next week we're going to be covering the Canadiens and the Chicago Blackhawks. So tune into that. can listen
Boo. Boo. Oh, sorry, you said Montreal.
You can listen to this show and all the other our shows from Art Hockeycast on our website, rhockeycast.com. You can go to our subreddit, which is r/rhockeycast, or go to our YouTube page. On Monday night, we should be having the Puck and Awesome podcast at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and the After Hour show should be returning any day now. I'm not quite sure what's really going on with that. And as well, all of our other shows should be returning soon from their off-season hiatus. You can follow our Hockeycast on Twitter at the rhockeycast at rhockeycast, yeah. Or you can go follow us on Reddit. We don't really post much on that account, but there is an account there. You can follow me on Twitter at Blinson1 or on Reddit at user Blinson. You can follow Chris at Crazy Knucklehead on both Twitter and Reddit. You can follow Luke on Reddit at Yogi_the_duck. You can follow him on Twitter at Yogi Stogie. So unless there's anything you guys want to say before we head out.
I had a really good time with you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining
And
us.
fuck the Habs.
Yeah, hey, fuck LA while we're at it too.
Pittsburgh can go to hell.
Hey, we all agree on something.
So thank you again for joining us, and have a good night, everybody.
Sidney Crosby looks like a douche in the